Right. Hello, everyone. I think we're live now. And welcome to a new flagship show of mine called, I think it's the Scourge of the Shires or Shire Scourge or something like that. It was Cringe Walker, friend of the channel here, helped sort of set up the general theme of it. And this is, of course, some of them remember the Blob Watch, but um, that sort of died died after about 2 years. So I've got something new going on here, and this hopefully will be um, my the more frequent weekly um, show, talking about sort of topics, not so much the news, but just things that I find interesting in stuff like NGOs, which is the talking point of this week, and it's something that I've been on, as people know, academic agents unpopular opinions for I think twice now in a relatively short period of time, and so a lot of new subscribers here have found me via that route. So welcome. And people who already been subscribed beforehand will know that I've been very interested looking at these various groups of individuals who um, are basically the brains behind many of the uh, government, whether in UK or in America or whichever European Union, what have you, the decisions, make decision making, um, and it really you really find that these, I mean, many of these NGO groups, there'll be research policy, but and to look at of like mainly its implementation that will see tonight. You'll see not so much that they are the ones making direct decisions, but the decisions that they make is basically how you're going to sort of sell it to the public to make it more palatable, I guess. Um, just sort of a point of reference, we watched. I think at the in if you go to unpopular opinions, the I think it was the Tory part, the leadership, one of the ones that the lead probably find it on YouTube actually. Tony Blair giving it, one of his latest speeches, was effectively the speech itself, which wasn't necessarily for the public, but if you listen to it, he is basically like a general giving a sort of pep talk to his troops, and his whole the whole purpose of the speech, in my view, was to instruct people like who we're going to be looking at tonight, various companies and corporations, of what's our goals in the short term, what our goals in the long term are, and also what you need to be doing now to further these goals. And he went through the threats that, China being involved in Africa, and Russia, in Europe and everything. I mean, and he was very brutal on the fact that he said, fundamentally the problem is democracy, and which is not inaccurate from his position. The democratic, I guess you say, stages that all the various democratic performances we have to go through um, does impede these sorts of decisions. So, without further ado, I'm going to be using, and this is a site that I actually used to use when I was looking for internships and jobs and everything, not so long ago, and it was something that you can have a look at yourself. It's called Working for Members of Parliament. Now, it mainly is a site for, as it says, working for members of parliament, like caseworkers or what have you. But what's great about this site is actually it mainly actually covers various research policy forums, trusts, non-government organizations, these organizations that work with government, because you see that how uh, a lot of services are outsourced to these sort of organizations. So let's share the screen here. Do bear with me because my internet is really slow. Right. So let's share the screen. Right, here we go. So this is what you come to, and it's pretty useful. I actually find if you wanted to do like a breakdown of looking at these various sort of people who are the ones that implement a lot of the quote unquote woke or regime policies. This is the place to go. So here we go. So right off the bat here, you got Health Watch, Southwark. One thing you'll find, by the way, is a lot of the these when I went for an interview for one of these sort of positions, you have Southwark is quite a sort of central hub for these sorts of places. I remember where I went for an interview, you had these various policy groups, and you had like your ITV office and everything else. So you had like the media, you had these NGOs, and of course, stone's throw away, you've got Westminster. So it's like this really small area within London, yeah, it's you're surprised how sort of close together they are. So let's have a look at Health Watch. So these are job positions that they're currently there's advertisements for. You'll find that also a lot of you got national wage and volunteering, and that you might find like a couple of online articles, online magazines, positions being put on here as well. So let's have a look at this one, see what this is about. So Health Watch Southwark gathers and champions the views of local users of health and social care services in order to identify opportunities for improvement and to influence how providers deliver health and care services. Created by the Health and Social Care Act of 2012, Health Watch Southwark and other local healthcare around the country are required to deliver 6 functions to fill our duty as the local consumer champion of health and social care. The post holder will be responsible for delivering Health Watch's Southwark research and project works, high quality data management, engaged design, analysis, report writing. They will help meaningfully investigate and clearly capture people's needs, experiences, and opinions on that HWS can effectively drive improvements in health and social care. Postal will support engagement officer with direct research as project engagement activities with the public and work alongside the manager to promote the patient voice and influence decision makers using our using our quote unquote evidence base. They will also help signpost public to resolve challenges in assessing health and social care services. Okay, and you got your website here and everything. So, here's one example. One thing that's quite interesting is you find with a lot of these sort of jobs is you'll see the terms like data analysis, data collecting, and when you see like on BBC, I think COVID, the lockdowns was a great example. You had all these statistics and charts coming out, and this would have come with what's this? This is health and social care. So you will see data being collected, looking at, let's say, care home deaths or something, as an example, and so that would be put into a chart, and then that would be used as, because this is the thing, is that all these sorts of data analysis, data collecting is used basically for justification to deliver certain agendas, and that's the sort of position that's being put forward in a lot when you see on this website when they say data analysis, data research, and data collecting. And yeah, I mean that's one example. We'll see what we else got going. Ooh, for GK strategy. Let's have a look. We'll have a look at the NHS Confederation as well. That'll be quite interesting one. Okay, KG strategy is award-winning policy and communications consultancy based in Westminster. Okay, so this one is actually based in Westminster itself. Let's see what they do. We support businesses and leaders to build relationship in their political and regulatory environment and help improve their reputation and growth through better understanding of the policy landscape. Okay, so this actually is quite a good one. This is sort of what we've been sort of mentioned earlier. Our people are at the center of what we do. GK's experienced team offers unparalleled political insight and targeted communication strategies and campaigns. So straight off the bat here, it looks like that this is a, as they say, communication strategy campaign. So these were the sort of people, if you were like a Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak, these are the sort of people you'd be going to build up a campaign to manage your public image, and maybe even manage public, and also just not just people, but individuals, companies, associations, anything really. We are recruiting an associate to work in our insights team, which provides investors with all in-depth political, policy, and regulatory analysis, advice, and due diligence. Reports on companies and sectors. So what they actually operate as is that it's quite interesting because they not just do like a sort of PR aspect, so managing sort of public opinion and public perception, but they also work within politics and policy and sort of advisory positions as well. So that I would actually say these people seem to be quite influential. And if you think about it, they actually could, in theory, dictate policy based on what they perceive, what that like the quote unquote targeted strategies, let's say, dealing with members of the public. I mean, we hear like polling, and let's be honest, polling is all crap, because they end up polling people that they want to. They don't really poll anybody outside of London when it comes to any sort of major decision. We are the market leader in this important area. Investors advisory service, having provided due diligence for over 350 deals valued in excess of $15 billion in the UK and around the world. Our clients are typically private equity and other groups with investor community. We're seeing candidate with excellent research. So let's again look at the main duties. So responsibility of delivery of due diligence reports, research projects and reviews for retained clients. Development of due diligence services, including risk reporting, leading feedback meetings alongside senior colleagues on project delivery, responsibility for monitoring services for corporate and investors, clients as required, provide tailored and personal feedback to staff and project delivery and training support the team. Sort of acting as a policy specialist when brought into external meetings with new clients, being a GK ambassador, embodying the values of the company and all that sort of stuff. So there we go. And I might stop and have a look at some of these websites to see what's there. I'm just going to have a quick look at this website. See what. I want to see who they've worked with. So I've got a list of case studies here. And clients. So sort of private equity firms, banks. Interesting. Okay, let's have a look at that NHS Confederation. Engagement support officer. Oh yeah, I bet this is a sort of value for money. Let's see. So engagement support officer. I mean, £21,000 plus London waiting. Because for people outside the UK, you do have a living sort of a national minimum wage, living wage, and then you have London has its own because London's it's a more expensive place to live than anywhere else in the UK, though that is subject to change. Let's see. Engagement support officer will play a critical role in supporting the smooth running of the NHS Confederation's acute network, helping to coordinate key deliverables, products, and operations. In this role, you will build effective relations with acute network members and external stakeholders, signposting the relevant information, respond to queries, and ensuring excellent customer service. Provide administrative support for core acute network processes, including membership and management. Support effective and timely communications, acute network members. Let's see. So we'll look on the additional details because there's nothing much here that's really sort of standing out of what. So the NHS Confederation is a membership organisation that brings together, supports and speaks for the whole healthcare system in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. The NHS Confederation is committed to promoting a diverse and inclusive environment for our staff. You go down to any hospital now and it's covered in LGBT flags. And then there's also this other one that I've seen. It's like this huge fuck off billboard in one of the hospitals I went to several months ago, where it was our team are diverse and from all over the world, and the billboard was so big because they just had all the flags from the countries that they came from, and it was sort of just like in the lobby, so you're sitting there like bleeding and everything, and you have to stare at that monstrosity. Place where let's see, so diversity, inclusion, place where we can all be ourselves and succeed on merit. We offer a range of inclusive employment policies, including family-friendly policies and flexible working, and we have a range of channels to support staff from different backgrounds, including our staff networks and staff forum. That'd be interesting. The NHS Confederation is committed to being flexible employer. So this is NHS. This is technically a part of the state, so there's not really an NGO, but even though, I mean, like, what's the fucking difference at this point? There's no difference. So let's go back. Youth Sport Trust. Interesting. Let's have a look at this one. So, Head of Policy and Public Affairs for Youth Sport Trust. Again, you'll find in parts of England here, you have, like, in all these random places, these various sort of like sports engagement, sports trust, community-based sort of trust. And it's quite funny because even when it comes to elections, both Labour and all the parties do it, is they say, well, how do you get, like, kids away from crime? And the universal response is to build more youth centres. But anyone with half a brain and who is, walked, lived or visited or been around these sort of circles, can tell you that no youth centre has ever prevented a kid selling dope or robbing a granny at knife point. It's never happened and never will happen. Anyway, let's have a look at this. So look at 45 to 50,000. Jesus Christ. Right, let's see this. So this is Head of Policy and Public Reform at Youth Sport Trust. We are looking for an inspirational and experienced Head of Policy and Public Affairs to join our senior leadership team and steer future policy thinking and lead our public affairs advocacy and influence plan. So just a side point here, this job site that we're looking at, one thing you find out is that a lot of people who work in within, say, like the Labour Party, Conservative Party, who are not just your sort of bog standard caseworker, but also people who have more senior positions, will leave, go and join one of these companies, then go back, and so you have this this really blurred, I mean, what I say blurred line is non-existent at this point between the public and private sector, and it's a really interesting thing because you see how you can pass laws, government can you can pass a law, you can pass a law which enforces X, but it needs to be enforced. And this is the thing and this is why we talked about the sort of problems with the Tories, is why they're even if they wanted to do anything, which a lot of the time they don't, and they're not going to, but let's just say they did, is they've got just a huge net. There's just a huge culture of people of managerial types like this with these various trusts and organizations who will just prevent any legislation passed from being implemented. We saw it with the channel crossings. We saw it to a degree with Rwanda, even though I thought it was deliberately built to fail from the start for sort of more cynical reasons. But that being said, it's worth noting that a lot of these people who work in these sort of positions just cross over back and forth. Even see it like with MPs who let's say, like, they lose their seat at a general election, and then they'll sort of like just magically appear as as a sort of on the board of X company, or if you're a former chancellor, you end up becoming the sort of head editor, the sort of editor for the Evening Standard without any previous experience in journalism. That's a reference to George Osborne, in case anyone didn't know what I was meaning. So let's have a look. Sort of galvanize, influence people, inspire change makers. and improve the lives of millions of young people in the UK. So, as head of policy and public affairs, you will collaborate with colleagues or members, partners, and young people to design a policy position across a broad range of issues. Um, you will oversee and manage high profile national policy projects as well as provide professional support and advice on the uh, Young Sports Trust policy consultants. You'll also develop and deliver a strategy for the policy and the public affairs activity. This will involve building and managing relationships within the political arena, including government departments as well as existing and new partner organisations. So that's the important thing. They have to, um, and this is the key. They create policies, they implement the policies, but they have to have. I mean, what was it here? Uh, Managing relationships within the political arena, very important. So that would be going to local, like the Conservative Party, for instance. There's each constituency, they have like these dinners, these evening dinners. This going to something like that. You'll have fundraisers. You'll have um, maybe even meetings in the sort of a lobby format. And the reason is they would, and this is sort of the myth of I guess the myth of Parliament and the myth of Westminster, is that a lot of these people will talk on the behalf of sort of like the Youth Sports Trust in Parliament. And it gives the illusion that the MPs are the ones that are driving effectively the decision making, when in reality they're just sort of a front. And this actually encapsulates what the sort of purpose of these NGO watches and why it's important. And now I know that some of you may be listening and thinking, "Oh, hang on a sec, I'm expecting NGOs like Hope Not Hate and the sort of the various sort of the Blair Foundation and everything." And while those are big and those are important, and we know how sinister that these groups are, the point is that you must look at these sort of smaller smaller, lesser known ones, because these are the ones that push the pos on the local level or on the regional / local level. And these are the ones that will, for example, they will sort of promote, they will sort of push it, what's the term I'm looking for? They will push astroturf policies, let's say, like anyone gives a damn about women's football, for example. Or even maybe slip in a few climate crisis agendas through there as well. So for the high profile role, you must have worked in public policy affairs or relations or been involved in political work. So that, there we go. This sort of job will go to somebody who maybe worked in the party, in a like Labour or Conservative Party, probably Labour or something like that, and have that sort of connection with public policy and sort of political work, preferably at a national level. Experienced in shaping public policy, you have a track record of developing, managing, and delivering successful influencing campaigns. You also have used gathering political intelligence and using insight gained from work plans. So that's quite interesting. You'll also be used to gathering political intelligence and using insight gained from work plans. So when it comes to political intelligence, the first thing you'd be thinking of is not so much the rumor mill, but the various leakers, sources, and the media. The media being sort of a very important one to what's going on internally. Now, internal party politics is not important, but if you want, again, you have to think about it, think of these people like magicians, and they know what they want to do, but if they do it in a way where everyone can see the magic trick is total horseshit, then no one will believe it, and that causes problems, for the show as a whole. So they have to keep up appearances, and this is why they sort of play the politics game, because they have to sort of keep up the appearance. I also think that there are elements that people get like quite these sort of people get quite drawn into the Westminster Village sort of style politics of like which MP cuts with to this, or like which MP allows his wife to sleep with his brother, or something like ridiculous like that. But a lot of them get drawn into that sort of politics. I think it's maybe like a substitute for EastEnders or something. I don't know. So yeah, and these are all jobs, by the way. If you wanted to go apply for them, I mean, you could do. Of a date of this recording, you've got about a month to apply for these sort of jobs. So there we go. Got even the Samaritans have a policy officer. I mean, even the Samaritans. See. Okay, so this is the one I saw earlier, actually. Oh, but we got the Free Speech Union as well. The Free Speech Union also put places advertisements on here. I mean, overall, this is where it comes down to what we've all been saying in these circles, is that any group of people, if you're organized, if you have organizations which are united in blocks to fulfill any target or any goal, you're already on a good standing. You can't. I think there are too many people, and whether this is like a quote unquote boomer truth myth or what have you, but there are so many people, and you see it on the right all the time, that sort of believe that they can be like this lone wolf amongst all these sort of powerful forces, and that they can actually take them down in a sort of epic fashion, and in reality, that's just not the case. It really isn't. You need to have sort of backing, and the Free Speech Union had an amazing victory recently over I think it was a train conductor, which who basically I think it was during the Floyd riots, and pointed out the problem with the concept of white privilege, and he was removed from the position, but he went through with the help of the Free Speech Union, and won an appeal. So I mean, yeah, it does work. So let's look at this Hong Kong Welcoming Project researcher for Welcoming Committee for Hong Kongers / British Future. So these are the new Britons. These are the sort of next gen, fully upgraded, higher IQ Britons who are going to be the sort of improved model. This contract. This is an exciting role within the high-profile national project, British Future and the Welcoming Committee for Hong Kongers. Oh God, that just sounds so managerial. The Welcoming Committee for Hong Kongers are working together to promote the full engagement of the BNO status holders in the UK through effective settlement and integration. It'd be nice if you did some of like settlement integration for another foreign group living in the UK. Probably have less rapes in northern towns. In its first 6 months, its activities have already made a significant contribution to achieving the aims of the UK Hong Kong Welcome Programme, with
continuations of its funding and Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communications. So Department of Levelling Up, the Welcoming Committee is starting at stage 2 of its work. So this is this is what's important. Is you hear from the Tories and the and from the leadership stuff, is that they will immigration is not within their control. These sort of policy research things, this is all part of the regime, and this is what they want. They want to well, I can't say on YouTube, but their investment in mass immigration to the point of sizable and significant change to the UK population is their sort of is a major driving goal at this point. And any attempts to try and stop it or derail it will be met with a wall of either silence or just obstruction. And we've seen that with, as I mentioned earlier, the channel crossings, where the border security the border force openly said that they weren't going to enforce the borders. So decision has already been made on this, and so whatever the Tories say now about, even if they care about reducing, I mean, it's not even reducing immigration; it's illegal immigration. They don't want a legal one, and they would never, they would never come out and say, to prevent Hong Kongers coming here, even though, in my view, and I think in most people watching this view, is that you can't afford it. Cannot afford it at all. It depends also where they'd be living. You're going to be importing a city to the UK. I mean, it's a really frustrating thing, because we even talked about the Lintel News. Is, with the one hand, the Tories will be saying, "Well, yeah, we're going to sort this out," and then the other hand, it's just they're actually pushing it even harder, or even they're facilitating, they're allowing these sort of organisations to facilitate and actually push it, and they know full well that they're not, that they are they're absolute liars. They know what they're saying is that they're deceiving the public, and I would guess that the closing date for this is 2nd of September. So maybe at the start of next year, you'll start to see Hong Kongers arriving. What is it? The length of the contract is 6 months. So maybe even into next year at some point, maybe like spring next year, you'll see uptick in Hong Kong immigration. But again, this is still a job the Foreign Office would be doing. But this is this welcoming committee for Hong Kongers is the new Foreign Office brain decision making. Rightio. Let's see what else is. See what other little shits are operating. Got the Free Speech Union here. Got the UN. We'll go look at the UN in a minute. What's this oxygen strategy? You see, you have to look at the ones with the sort of cryptic names, because it usually means that they're, let's see, are you interested in healthcare policy? So there's another healthcare policy one. As these roles, it's home-based. You need to be self-motivated, can't be working alone. Yeah, it looks like a graduate position. So Oxygen has extensive experience working with politicians, health policymakers, global life science companies, small biotech firms. I wonder if they know William Fence. patient advocacy groups, and clinic opinion leaders. So again, they working with politicians and health policymakers. I mean, working with politicians is one thing, but it's the policymakers. That's the stuff you have to watch out for, because when they're working with policymakers, they make the policy. I can guarantee the decision to wear the mask, and the sort of, what was it, 2-meter rule or something, or whatever the ridiculous rules that were at the time, probably came up by a sort of strategy group like this, more likely than not, the origin of it. So look at this. What's Traverse? Got a funky logo. You really have to sort of dig a bit deeper, because it's just meaningless sort of jargon of red tape, like engagement and research evaluations and stuff. And it's so, yeah, but what do you actually do? So managing projects with different clients, different sectors. Let's have a look at their website, see what they get up to during the day. I mean, so they got what we do, inclusive practice, lived experiences. So they work within healthcare, infrastructure, utilities, and local government. So this is like an NGO for local government by the looks of it. Okay, so their job is to learn the experiences from the pandemic and what a local post-COVID future might look like for councils. Right. Okay. Yeah. So again, this is not a national NGO. This is more of a local NGO. Interesting. Let's have a look at the head of outreach for United Nations Association UK. Looks interesting. We are looking for a dynamic, outgoing, and imaginative head of outreach to inspire and engage people from all walks of life in our work, to nurture and expand our funding opportunities, and to engage our members, supporters, and partners networks as a powerful global force for change. A natural network with a flair for innovative outreach and experience with community engagement. The post holder will report to the COO and the CEO and manage relevant staff and volunteers as required. Okay, so they got volunteers. Interesting. Key objects: to work with the CEO, head of campaigns, and head of policy in the planning and delivering of the UNA UK strategy and outreach objectives, to maximise grassroots engagement with the UNA UK campaigns to ensure delivery of campaign objectives, to identify and build relationships with potential funders, including trusts, foundations. Foundations. I wonder which foundations they're referring to. Can't be that former Prime Minister of the UK with that foundation. And identify creative opportunities to diversify income streams, including with individual donors. To grow our UK membership and support a base global network of partners with the aim of improved funding opportunities. One thing I find interesting looking at this is it's just like a constant web of globalized networks. It's just because the thing is, you could take out one, but it's like the head of a hydra. You take out one, and then 3 just grow back again. It's kind of like it's really like a virus. This thing really is. So let's have a look at the website. Let's see what. Oh, there's a candidate pack here. Let's see what's going down. So we read all that bit. 4-day work week. Very nice. So through research analysis, we build understandings of global system and the risks it must address, from the climate emergency to security threats. So remember the Tony Blair Institute. They've been pushing 6 months ago, and well, ever since the last 6 months, sort of like a biochip, so like a sort of general ID, but in a sort of like cloud, I guess it's like a cloud format, but also like a chip that I don't know if it's injected into you or something, but something along those lines, right? And this is something that Tony Blair has always wanted to have, like a sort of an ID sort of state. That is something that he's always wanted, because that's the sort of inner demonic managerial gigaman fetish of his. But he sort of backed down in the past over this, but this is something that's still going on. And with and he understands, because Blair understands all positions. He understands all political positions, and he's able to articulate all political positions in a very sort of reasonable and consistent way, more so than anyone else, in politics nowadays could ever do. And he understands the rights concerned with immigration into this country, and so he sort of framed it as the well, if you have these sort of ID, this ID plan that I've put forward in the foundation's policy catalogue, this would help reduce immigration. So this is, this is something that only recently one of his guys at the foundation actually sort of referenced about immigration. And it's something that people in our circles, like I think Pharaoh and Academic Agent, sort of predicted it 6 or 8 months ago now. And yeah, it's come to fruition. And you see this now. I think they framed it in the foundation as not so much as immigration, but sort of global risks and stuff like that. So security threats. So soaring inequalities, human rights violations, humanitarian crisis, and disruptive technologies. So disruptive technologies is, it's not really, you will hear the sort of consensus take is like these these hacking sites in Russia and what have you. But in many ways, they're talking about it means just the website as a whole, because there are aspects of the web that are not, especially like the dark web or the deep web, or both the dark and deep web, which are not really covered, especially websites in those spaces where you don't have government control, even though it's filled with feds. So usually it means like the wild west of the web. By convening experts and practitioners, we help develop solutions by engaging politicians and policymakers. So remember, about back to the Blair speech, it's about, when it comes to engaging, it's not really engaging, it's telling them this is the policy and this is what you follow, and they go, yes, master, and they follow it. And remember, I think it was, they said earlier, they have a team, paid up team, but also they have a network of volunteers as well. So you'll see here, okay, it's about the climate emergency. I can guarantee you a good portion of their volunteers or people signed up to them will be people who just turn up to protest. who will turn up outside Westminster or on the the M25 or outside Heathrow and chain themselves to whatever, and the media will come along. Or what's the more recent one? They'd be going to like HSBC and just sort of breaking windows and what have you on major banks and in the city and such. So this is the sort of this is the sort of tactics we are familiar with, but this is how this is all the reach they have within, like say, within the UN and everything. And so it's a really interesting thing. And if you've worked within, like, because I've worked a bit within sort of, or I volunteered within and worked within a bit of local government, and you see this this spider web of various research groups, various trusts and everything, and it's absolutely it is very difficult to piece it together. And I think in some ways it's a bit deliberate, because you'll hear people. I mean, we call it the regime, and all these people that we're looking at are all part of the regime, and it is a very broad generalization, but that's what we end up having to do, because we just can't say, oh, UN or the whichever the young sports trust or anything. They all work within one sort of hive mind. People like Maltbug will call it this sort of aspect, the cathedral. But there does appear to be, however, some sort of top-down, when the new policy is determined, and when the new policy is determined, it is sort of passed down. We have Spitfire 2000 saying there is no such thing as the deep state, etc. Yeah. I think what's quite interesting about this is, again, one of the things that we and maybe this is sort of like in popular conspiracy things, when they talk about the deep state, it's always believed that it's hidden. It's like a secret force that is that we don't know what's going on with, and it really isn't hidden. All of the aspects of the quote unquote deep state, it's all on record. It's all there. They were putting job ads out there. We're looking at it tonight. It's not a secret thing. I mean, there already are aspects of like various foundations, and maybe there is like obviously like secrets in the sort of military aspect of the sort of military contracts. There are secret elements, but by and large, policies and everything else, and various forums that these people attend, they make their intentions very clear indeed. It's not secret. Not secret at all. Right. What do you guys think? Should I apply for one of these jobs online, live? What do you guys think? People in chat, if you're watching, give an opinion in chat if I should apply for this live. Quite entertaining, I think. The problem is, and this is the thing, is even I know that there'll be some that might ask, well, if all of us in our little groups join these things, couldn't we sort of use this against them? And me a few years ago probably would agree, like saying, let's all apply for these jobs and try and get them, and then we can work from within and everything. But the problem is that it's no one person, and I don't know if this is a structure, no one person can have too much of an influence, even in these sorts of job positions, because maybe there is an element of self-awareness that they know that if you have, say, a policy advisor who has a very senior or major position on certain policy fields, that they could assert actually some level of dominance, which could be a threat to what the wider goal. And all of these jobs and people who'll be applying for jobs in theory are actually expendable. They are expendable, and I also think that there is if I was to apply for if myself or any of you guys were to apply for it and you were to come across, they'd be able to root us out. I think they'd be able to root us out quite easily. I mean, you'd be working alongside the CEO, so they probably would discover, maybe someone like Cringewalker, deeply subversive, probably get away with it. Anyway, let's go back to let's do some more NGO watch. More NGO watch. Let's see. Labour list. Let's look at this Westminster Forum projects. Let me have a look. I'm just going to look at their website because I don't think they're affiliated with Westminster itself. I think they're set private entity. This is interesting. I might show you guys this in a sec. Research assistant. So again, legislators, government regulators, those affected by decisions that they make are events. Help issue that move forward thinking for the legislature. So this is the thing that I find quite sinister in this is, growing up, we're all led to believe in the sort of liberal, David Cole said, if you work for them, wouldn't you make yourself like fully dependent on your enemy, basically? Well, yeah, that's another reason why it's rather pointless. You become, if you were caught, if there was like a network of this, let's say like 20 who joined up, worked in these sort of groups in these various research policy, and we were all found out, which could happen, then all of us would be out of a job, all blacklisted, and but also you are sort of dependent on the enemy's income. So yeah, that's another thing. I mean, I actually sort of the position of rival, sort of like parallel institutions, which are not connected to these sorts of groups. I also think one thing you could learn is, depending on what your goal is, whether you're like an in-group preference rights group, for example, instead of calling yourself giving yourself a title or name which would spark suspicion, you could do these sort of groups like the Oxygen organization, or just give a name which doesn't have direct connotations to what you're trying to promote, let's say, is what I would be thinking of. You have to be sort of a bit clever with the names that you give yourselves. So yeah, one thing I've always found quite interesting is we're all led to believe in the concept of democracy, that we live in a truly democratic system. So the people that we elect are the ones who formulate policies, and if we choose to join a party, let's say Labour or Conservative, that as members we'd actually get a say on policies and what have you. But I mean, here is a clear example. The job description: help produce conferences on key policy issues that move forward thinking for legislators, government. So basically, this policy forum is, we're going to move forward and tell these legislators. So legislators are MPs, governments, regulators, and those affected by the decisions that they make. So we're going to tell them what they're going to do, because their decisions affects us or people like us. And this is, I mean, this sort of wording is really interesting because it's quite clear that again the mask nowadays. Maybe it's always has been. We just haven't noticed, but at least the mask nowadays are completely off, and they just don't care. They don't care at this point. Constructive, inclusive, challenging, and strictly impartial. Yeah, impartial. Yeah, because they again they don't care about party politics. It's just power. The party politics is a pantomime. It's not real. Important occasions for policymakers in governments, parliaments, and assemblies, as well as business, charity, and action groups, professional bodies, academics, and others that are interested in or affected by the issues. So, their main concern is people in the regime. Their friends, professional bodies, academics, and charities, and everything. So effectively, this is like this sort of Westminster Forum is effectively or this job description is sort of from the pure sort of Carl Smithian point of view of this job is here to protect our friends, in our friends in government, our friends outside of government. We want you to protect them. So see the opportunities. Making a career in a demanding and very rewarding environment, a company that is commercially focused and growing, but with a strong ethical heart, researching issues, emerging trends, emergent behavior, not top down, not astroturf, not funded by groups from Washington, but emergent. Just came naturally, from working class areas. Possible speakers and I like how emerging trends and then like speakers, possible speakers and contacts across the policy landscape to a brief, helping to make sure conferences are as up to date and relevant and inclusive as impossible. And not interested parties left out of discussing, with no interested parties left out of discussing important developments. Yes, so we can't allow potential friends left out. We need all of them. Hello, Chris Hanlon. Hello there. Welcome to the stream. It's been really interesting, actually, going through this. So this is like your seminars, everything. So they work within Westminster. They're not affiliated with the government. I mean, this is actually probably the best example of an NGO. This is the best example. How we got. This is the first page as well. This is the first freaking page of it, and we haven't even got. I mean, I'm not going to do 15. I'm not going to go through the whole lot of them because I haven't got go mad with it after looking through all of them. Oh my god! Let's have a look. I got some. No way. Oh god. Blair did such a fucking number on this country. That absolute cocksucker makes my skin crawl. Jesus Christ. Okay, so all criminal justice policy and campaign people are, I mean, my view is, are absolute fucking scumbags. So, yeah, in the UK, it's quite often UK that the UK is accused of being extraordinarily racist and bigot and hold extreme prejudice against travellers, gypsies and what have you. And that is true. But also, like most things where you have racism and bigotry, there's also a reason why such feelings permeate. And from personal experience, I can tell you that yes. Okay, so why do you think that when there's what is this, a traveller movement, that it has to be criminal justice policy? That it's not like you know um, travellers' rights to roam on the roads, let's say, or to rent land, for or anything like that. It's all voting, because they move about, different regions. Maybe they want to have a vote, sort of some sort of aspect of a postal vote or something. Nothing like that. It has to be criminal, because the main problem is that they're all a bunch of fucking criminals. Yes, that's true. They are largely, they are thieves. They are thieves. They operate outside the society, and they are thieves. And what you have is you have a bleeding heart, sort of liberal minded order, which is, again, when I say Blair, I mean this is a very sort of Blairite thing. It's not about creating it's not about looking at what the problem is or anything. It's about giving this community, whether it be travellers or others that we have seen, preferential treatment, usually to the detriment. And one thing that you find, and I do wonder, is that there are always these. I always think about it. There are two Britons. You have Britain of England and Britain of before 1997, and then you have Britain after 1997. Britain before 1997, its identity was Northern European, largely Christian, had a great emphasis on tradition, history, I guess the empire, the legacy of the empire, and it followed a long-standing, I guess you could say, form of aristocracy, which had sort of existed even up until that point, with the hereditary peers system. And you knew the country itself was, if you were to, if you look at footage from like before 1997, even in like the early 90s, Britain was a very, very unique place, like most places around the world. Like if you were to travel to Germany or France, in those, you knew exactly where you were, because people, they didn't all look the same. They looked different, and also the buildings, the culture, the civilization was very, very particular to that place and time. And there was a great emphasis on history as well. And then afterwards, you have Britain post 1997, and look at the Jubilee celebrations, right? That was the establishment, the UK, the regional managerial branch of the regime in the UK, is they wanted to show off what their perception of Britain was. So their perception of Britain in that Jubilee celebration was, beyond the Queen herself, it was, the swings, the World War II, the swinging 60s, all the greatest hits from like 1950 to 1990, computers, the Olympics, women in sports. Then that was it. I mean, that for them, that is the history and the aspect of Britain in one go. And I think it was Peter Hitchens who said that. I can't remember who said this, but the reason that it's like that is because there is an element of the left and or the regime rubbing their sort of nose, that's like giving a massive like fuck you to the ordinary members of the public, the ordinary British people who don't hold these values. Because most people at that time, or let's say at that time, I don't know now, maybe I think it's probably a bit different, but people like us, we do not hold those values. but this is a massive fuck you to that. And allowing these travelers, to basically give them preferential treatment, to basically and give them green light to continue doing whatever. I'm not even going to read it because I know exactly what it is. It's basically data analysis it's basically to prove how racist Britain is. And it's like, well, it goes back to the same old thing. Why with the black community in America, it's like, if they don't want to be overrepresentative in criminal statistics and don't commit the crimes, they're the ones committing the crime. It isn't because of poverty. It's because shitlibs like this give them extraordinary preferential treatment. And because these people are scumbags and they know they're scumbags, they know that if they have a sympathy or a free pass, they're going to bloody well use it. David says, what qualifications do you need to apply? So let's have a look at qualifications. So have a look at the details. I mean, look at the pay you get. So these are attached documents. You've got job description, job conditions, equality and diversity form. Let's have a look at the quality. I'll have a look at the. Actually, I best not, because it has my name. My name my IRL name might appear. Let's have a job. Let's have a look at this. Sorry, I brought up I was having a look at the job description. So qualifications. We've got skills and experience. A person we are looking for is likely to have completed a relevant degree, have a 1 or more years experience in relevant field. Will be expected to have. Well, I mean, I have a decade of experience of dealing with gypsies, so I'm probably overqualified, to be honest. An understanding of criminal justice, public policy field in the UK, holding experience working in the relevant field. And probably people remember when I was working at one of my jobs, one of them tried to start a fight with me. And one thing that's quite interesting is I don't know if it's like because I know that he was a junkie. They have like this. You see this with junkies, is they have like this like really like rat-looking faces. They look like rodents. The rat sort of like rat face, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's like an effect of drug use or something, but they have like this like really rodent-looking face. Yeah, so any idiot can apply. This is the understanding of criminal justice, public policy field in UK, including experience working in field, insight into criminal justice research or access to justice, employability, education, health, social care, or related research, preferably with experience in one or more fields, evidence of strong communication, ability to clearly articulate a story by bringing together evidence from a range of sources, primary and secondary sources, and complex policy issues relating to Gypsy, Roma community travellers. Well, I mean, they can read. They're not retards. They can read. They don't need to. You don't need to do like. they understand perfectly well what you're saying. Don't need to treat them like they can't read or anything. Evidence of strong data analysis skills, including advanced Excel and graphics, graphical presentation patterns. So basically, you can use Excel and can use PowerPoint. Evidence of effective oral communication, including some of the following: group, facilitation, presentation, contribution to meeting, internal, external, interviewing, telephone, face-to-face, and running focus groups. If you one thing you have to ask yourself is if they're there to make sort of policy for gypsies, because they just love stealing. They have a sort of they cannot help themselves. Why do you need policy and focus groups? And one thing you find, especially if you look at during, especially the Brexit campaign, a lot of these focus groups weren't there to, give these group policy makers feedback. It was able, like, the actual purpose is how can they manipulate members of the public, let's say in these policy groups, to basically believe the bullshit. How can we word it in a certain way that we make these reprehensible people who are criminals appear to be more human and actually have a bit of sympathy for them. How can we do that? So, sorry, that was a bit of spicy point there. Right. So we've done the gypsy stuff. Let's see what else. Empower. I've heard of them. Countryside charity based in London. Sounds about right. So I have heard of this group as well. So a few months ago, probably also a year ago as well, there was this great move by various in the media, in the Guardian, BBC, the usual criminals, to say that there is a problem in the UK countryside. It's not very diverse, and Black and Asian and people feel that they can't walk around there because there aren't fucking hordes of Zulus, people looking like them, in the countryside to make them feel more welcome. I think that's sort of the general perspective that they were giving on that, and also that there was this magical, mystical invisibility force field preventing them from walking around the countryside. And I think there was this charity that was sort of trying to increase Black and Asians to walk around parts of the countryside in like the Lake District and what have you, the Peak District. There you go, Cumbria Coal Mine. So the role required day-to-day management of a campaign inbox, position holder, opportunity to work closely with campaign team issues such as stopping the Cumbria Coal Mine. So this is the thing, and I've dealt, because I live in the countryside, so I've dealt with a lot of these sort of the only group that I'm still a member of today is the Countryside Alliance. And what reason is number one, they're actually the only ones that are not based in London, and they are not people will know that they are for bringing back fox hunting. That's one of their things, but they are very much what I say, a very real, like an NGO group that's actually really there for rural folk. This one is, as you can see, it's based in London, and I saw it in Cornwall. I saw it in all over part of south of England, southern England. Is that they will, they really don't care what they do to the local population. They will try and prevent. So when it comes to like the coal mines and everything, I remember in Cornwall you had the tin mines, and when those closed, the part of you had the Eden Project, and that was promised to be the substitute for the mines. And because a lot of those communities, if you go to the Eden Project, you drive up through a lot of like old towns, which were villages and towns which were created for people who would work in the mines there, and or in the quarry or what have you. And they were just quickly forgotten. I mean, you see that in Cornwall a lot. People were priced out of their homes. Villages and communities were utterly destroyed by these fuckers who treat the rural countryside as their sort of holiday playground. And even today, I actually went to the Eden Project probably about 10 years ago now, and you went through. I can't remember which town it was, but it was which village it was, but it was completely. I mean, it was shockingly impoverished for the county, which you would think it'd be relative. I mean, it was like a sort of council estate you would be travelling through, and it was grim to say the least. It was the amount of times you hear about the poverty in London and places in the north and what have you, but I mean that was but it never used to be with the mining industry there. It was you had your Methodist Hall, you had a very strong economically independent community who had worked in them. I mean, and those mines, the tin mining in Cornwall existed back into the classical Greek age and into probably even into the Bronze Age. And these fuckers here will come in and they will actively decimate the local people who, and there's been genealogical surveys done, who have lived in these regions for centuries. I absolutely cannot stand them. I absolutely cannot stand them at all. These sort of country charity groups. So it's all about I imagine it's about environmental brand and engagement team to ensure the work of wider campaigns, policies, social media. But I doubt they even I doubt if they even go to any of these places. One thing you'll find is they'll never go to any of these places that they'll be trying to stop. They'll send like their volunteers, an army of midwits down there, but I mean these sort of peoples that who apply for this sort of job wouldn't they wouldn't go down there. Oh, let's see. I might just do one more and call it a night, to be honest. Got the electoral. Yeah, you apply for the electoral commission on here. Let's do a Northern Ireland one, because I think Northern Ireland gets left out. So this is a Policy and External Affairs Officer, client for Elwild Atfield. Let's see what they are about. Job detail. The organisation. Our client, a leading healthcare regulator, is looking at expanding policy and external affairs functions in Northern Ireland. The organisation works to protect, improve and uphold medical standards and patient safety in the UK through education, working closely with doctors, healthcare providers, what have you. The standards are maintained. Yeah, usual stuff with the healthcare sort of stuff. Working with government, nothing much. Let's try and pick another one. Social Change Agency. We are recruiting a communications consultant with a keen interest in comms and marketing support, both the Social Change Agency consultancy team and telling the story of our work to a variety of audiences. One thing I find interesting is they always phrase it as telling a story, telling the story, or telling a story, telling the story. Not really, telling the sort of company backstory. It used to be always the backstory. Now it's just a story. Wonder why that is. I think that's quite interesting, actually. Wording they use there. A key part of this role will be to provide communication support and oversight to international development charities as they plan and run their UK aid match communications appeals. You'll also be delivering support to grantees of the Lloyds Bank Foundation and the communication strategy. Okay, so this is quite an interesting one. Oh, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the social change Okay, so remember, guys, this is the okay, this is quite a good one. Let's have a look at. Here we go. So, totally organic, emergent protest. So, we make change happen. From grassroots campaign to established organizations, we'll work with you to develop the tools, techniques, and networks you need to create lasting social impact. Interesting. So I would say they actually train like these NGO. They actually train the volunteers, the useful idiots in these NGO groups. This is interesting. So we work with funders to ensure effective philanthropy and innovative grant giving. Groups, we help activist groups and movements build sustainable futures. Public sector, charities. So all the people that donors, M&S. Yep, so Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Remember, it doesn't matter which the Tories or Labour or fucking Monster Every Leader Party you're in, this shit will continue. I'll have a look at their free resources in a minute. Let's see who funds them. Lloyd's Bank. Joseph Rowntree Foundation. It might be worth actually for some of these people. We'll maybe I might do a follow-up and just actually search some of these funders to see what these foundations and what they do. So you've got climate. So this isn't a coincidence. When Blair says that his team are embedded in Africa, and in a lot of the Far East and everything, he's not joking. I mean, look at it. These are all third world countries. Brazil, again, think about Bolsonaro and him there. He hasn't been playing ball, and he'll be out one way or another soon. Pakistan and Bangladesh. They will organize on the ground protests, and they'll make it look like that this is that this is what they want on the ground here. That this is the sort of a key issue. And this is the thing: organization is key. It really is to this. I mean, if anything you can take away from what we streamed tonight, maybe you can't take away much, but it's key. It really is. I mean, you can't really. You can criticize them, but you can't really criticize the game, and they are winning the game. I tell you. Let's have a look. Looks like their activism is paying off, at least financially for them. Oh yeah, I mean they have the control of the money. They have the control of the dialectics. They have the control of the sort of organizational aspects. I mean they are near enough all powerful. And this is the thing, it doesn't matter. I mean, okay, you got 71 climate activists across 27 countries. So people will say, okay, that's not that many, is it? Really, if you think about it, it doesn't matter. 71 is, think about it. If those 71 people have been trained with the help of these various foundations. They have the money, the economic, the backing of people like Blair and friends. They they can get as many people. They can network within local politics in those areas. They can effectively bring people out onto streets and make it look like a very organic protest indeed. Think back. There was you might find an old stream actually, people listening of on my channel where I Cringewalker sent me a starter up guide that that was leaked from Greta Thunberg's team when she was sort of still a thing at the time about of how to how activists in India should take up you know take up the cause, and it basically gave quite a similar thing that these guys would be promising. So how to organize protests in areas, how to interact with the police, what sort of signs to use, what time of day to protest to get maximum Twitter coverage, internet coverage, and everything. All these sorts of things that you wouldn't really think about, and they really they consider it. It was I think it's still up there, but it was very, very interesting. Even looking at that now, and you see it now, more so. These guys are really planned. They are they're not part timers. Let's have a look at free resources. Let's see. So let's have a look. This is going to be quite interesting, actually. A little test here. Maybe I'm going to shut the gauntlet down to people in the distant right. And if anyone wants to clip this, you can. We can go through this. So movement building canvas. So movement building canvas is a practical framework and printable worksheet to help you or your organization to design and build a social movement. So sustainability, CRM and data, communications, organization, rewards and incentives, purpose, engagement, meaningful action, shared values, shared purpose, shared experience. Now, academic agent has talked about network of tens, and what do you people see a correlation here? This is like, think of it like this is the outer, so this is the outer area. So this is like, further you go in, you have the more sort of, I guess, the more important aspects of the goal. And I think shared values, shared purpose, shared experience. This is their version of a network of 10. You can't be a part-time believer in climate change. You can't have any doubts on the racial justice grift. You have to be ideologically on board with all of it. Shared values, shared purpose, shared experience. Right. So there you go. Network building canvas. So yeah, this would be building up leadership. I might save actually some of these because it looks quite. It could be useful. We could use the ring of power against them. Maybe not. Interesting. Let's do an early life check of the team. Let's do an early life check live on shared okay. Shared purpose, clear them out. There you go. Shared purpose, the negative vision, clear them out. Let's do a Esther Foreman. Let's have a look at you. I want to do an early life check on you. Damn. Let's have a look. Yeah. London School of Economics. Yeah, so your typical shitlib. So it's roles, non-executive roles at the MS Society and Do It Org. This was MS. Unfortunately, guys, I can't do an early life check. But I mean, let's have a look at all these. Some of them got. Oh, let's have a look at her Twitter. Let's have a look at the Twitter. Skip Twitter. Okay, I can't. Her Twitter's not coming up. All right, no worries. One thing I find interesting, actually, is the board members are well, apart from Kishan here, but all of them are white men, and then all the others are like, a few white women, insufferable white women, and then sort of very diverse women, and then black, like a couple, and then black men. Interesting setup we got there. And then the advisory board is, again, just white people and a few soy men. Interesting. You see that a lot now as well, in these sort of boards, but in these like when you look at teams and everything. Right. I'm not accused of bullying, so. Which groups do they work with? Let's have a look. I'm going to make this the last one because this is just bloody crushing my soul. Connecting communities. I think this gives a perfect example of why London, and we could, I mean, the only way that London could ever retake London is through conquest, like Genghis Khan style conquest. It would have to be that way. Why should we go to school if you won't listen? Who won't listen to the educated? Yeah. There is no planet B. I think they need to. I mean, I would say as a feedback is you need better messaging because it's kind of cringe, at this point. Let's have a look at what's this one. Program built on lessons learned from the pilot round from citizens-led engagement forum. Yeah, so in the UK we had this thing which was called a citizens assembly, and effectively it was what I viewed to be a sort of progressive attempt to circumnavigate local government and like parish councils and stuff, and to basically have like a sort of LARP as a Soviet sort of Congress, let's say, or a Soviet Duma, to enact what to sort of to sort of give some sort of validity and justification for promoting policies which are the public the public at large don't support, but you just dictate to them and everything else. And it never really got anywhere, even though, I mean, it still exists now, but it's not like it can't enforce things on the public. But there was during the deadlock, during Brexit, during May's time, there was that whole you had many individuals in the Labour Party, not just Corbyn supporters, but saying, we need a citizens' assembly, screw Parliament and sort of your representative's voice. We need a citizens' assembly. Right. I think we could call that an evening. So, what have we learned tonight? We've learned how organised they are. We learned that actually that they do have. Again, this is the crazy thing: is it's not a conspiracy, guys. They have their resources. It's all there, public, of how they operate and how they do it, and they just it's there. And they have a core. There's a minority of them, because remember, this is not like tens of thousands. They have volunteers who they can brainwash into believing whatever, but this is a core group of, as we saw, like 75 people across like the globe in one instance, who are ideologically committed to the goal of inclusivity and climate change and climate emergency and racial equality and what have you. And that is what they're committed to. And, maybe that is a vindication for what many thinkers that we've covered in this channel, like Evola in the previous stream, there's a right-wing handbook, he points out of what you need to do to have create a successful movement. You can't have any part-time believers, and you can't have any, you see it within GB News, you invite leftists on, but what do you think you're doing? You have a debate and everything, but we're gone beyond the points of debates now at this point. Debate is pointless. They just do what the hell they want now. Any pretense, any sort of ideas that we live in a society where we have honest, open discussion, debates is complete fantasy world at this point. I mean, if you believe in that, I mean, I don't know what to say to you. Anywho, thank you, people watching. There's been some new people here. Thank you for hopping in and watching this, and I hope to do more of this in the future. So until then, have a good night, and I'll see you all next time.